me mo fale ngala bi fam fala yo mbatu ngana mbatu nyan tek yesi mbatu ngana yamoy lo je mbatu me ma ko sa se be fam fala sa sai lo mbatu
ndem fam fala
masa
na ko rak
masa
ako men vote
ale mata ja ale ni ta ta la nanu muna ko do bi mal mal yalta bala fini wala wadi way ñindi no yeb yawde don kono mana wulo kono yana lo mol kundo je ko be fam falale wala ni soro be tere be fam fala kitaba mol fala kibiro la ja ni ngata da ngada marché de ko bar ba fala kararas ngasi nganda hangaji ko mun be kala ni fani wala ma saya ko do bi bala fini wala wadi way ni da tar la ja nanu aba non tan dimas
yo kabir murtalan ko den gel safo be ko to be na bi traveling din tiltana nalla men lojle dilal video bani sam yim program ni alon ko na dawoda ta keno dawoda ndan control men video ral woni kontan ma fala mo be ala baraka to be na bi thank you very much ni ko ci di ko tan ni ci ala indi di ko ni na ko gara la min
ko tan la jam mo famata min ngila mo da ni mo jamre ko idem
Crops for the future.
People on their way home by boat after market day. We're in northwest Africa, where the river Niger flows in a broad arc, forming a natural barrier between the Sahara in the north and the arable land of the Sahel in the south. The Niger doesn't carry fish in sufficient numbers all the year round to feed the people living along its banks. So the main food of the inhabitants of the Sahel region is millet, and it depends on what the yield is whether the villagers have to go hungry before the next harvest is brought in.
This Bambara village, with 200 members of one of the extended families which are customary here, is preparing for the harvest festival, due to take place this evening. Made on a base of millet straw, the dance costume for Chiwara, the Bambara harvest symbol, is being given its finishing touches. Guests are coming from the surrounding villages, so something is being prepared for them to eat. Poverty doesn't mean they neglect the traditions of hospitality. The pot contains Bambara groundnuts. It's something they all enjoy, a product from the kitchen garden which has always grown here, but which, in spite of its outstanding qualities, has hitherto received scant attention as a potential weapon in the battle against hunger. When in times of shortage there's no other food left in the storehouse, the Sahel women resort to Bambara groundnuts to give their children and menfolk at any rate something to eat. Particularly in late summer, shortly before the grain harvest, the food supply situation for the millions of small farmers in the Sahel region becomes critical. Even in normal years, the modest stocks of grain are exhausted before new supplies can be brought in from the fields. At times like this, the Bambara groundnut, with its balanced content of nutrients, can quite simply be sustenance for survival. A few hundred grams of these nuts, boiled, roasted or raw, or even eaten unripe if need be, provide virtually all the daily nutrition a person needs.
The botanical name of the Bambara groundnut is Voanzia subterranea. Its flowers are papilionaceous, which means they resemble butterflies. When fertilized, they sink down into the ground by lengthening their stalks, and the nuts ripen just below the earth's surface. In this behavior and in appearance, the Voanzia subterranea strongly resembles the Arachis hypogea, known as the peanut, groundnut or monkey nut. The local strains of Bambara groundnuts in what is thought to be the area of origin around Timbuktu vary from light yellow to jet black and are sometimes even mottled.
L'espèce Voanzia subterranea a la capacité, comme l'arachide, de fixer l'azote.
Like the peanut, the species Voanzia subterranea fixes atmospheric nitrogen and is therefore a help in improving soil fertility. That's the verdict of agronomist Umani Angado, the head of this research station in the Bambara region, where they've recently started making an intensive study of this plant. In addition, there's its importance to the Sahel population as a crop which is ripe before any of the others.
C'est une petite légumineuse relativement riche en protéines, mais qui n'est pas...
This small, unassuming legume, which is relatively rich in protein, but which contains little oil, was for a long time neglected by researchers. Now, many scientists have confirmed that the plant has a high nutritional value and that it contains a good balance of food components.
No, these aren't Bambara groundnuts here. It's a field of ripe peanuts, waiting to be harvested by the traditional method, by hand. The vast peanut monocultures of the colonial era have long since disappeared from the former French Sudan, though. In those days, it wasn't difficult to get the Bambara people to work in the peanut fields, because the new plant, brought from Bolivia to Africa, resembled their own groundnut in so many ways. Since then, the peanut has been known in the Bambara language as tiga, while tiganikuru, the tiga with the short nose, is the name for their own nut, the Bambara groundnut, which was supplanted by the peanut.
Today, the United States and India dominate the world peanut market. African-grown peanuts are virtually no longer competitive. The producers of cooking oil in the industrialized countries have more or less stopped using them because of the cancer-inducing fungal poison aflatoxin often found in their press cakes.
If they're unable to sell the residue from the pressing process as cattle food, the factories which used to be the main customers find it no longer economically viable to make peanut oil from African-grown peanuts. For this reason, the small amounts still delivered to this collection point are only used for oil production for the domestic market.